Salut tout le monde et bienvenue at Coffee Break French. Welcome back to Coffee Break French. Now, in this lesson, we're going to be continuing to look at the perfect tense. And there are some verbs which we've not yet looked at. We've covered RE verbs, IR verbs, and of course ER verbs, but we've not looked at the formation of the past participle of some irregular verbs. So in this lesson, we'll be looking at the past participle of verbs like boire and voir, comprendre and mettre. So you'll be able to say what you have drunk, what you have seen, what you've understood, or indeed what you've not understood. I hope, therefore, that you enjoy this lesson of Coffee Break French. So, Anna, to begin with, let's see if you remember how you form the perfect tense in general. What are the two things you need?
Okay, if I can just think back to how you do that, it is you first of all need to conjugate the auxiliary verb, and then you need to add the past participle.
Exactly, so we need the auxiliary verb and the past participle. Now, auxiliary verb, which is the auxiliary verb that we've been using so far?
And we have been using the verb to have.
Which is?
Avoir.
Avoir, okay. Now, can you remember how to conjugate that in all 6 persons or 8 persons, I suppose?
Okay, I'm going to go for it. That would be j'ai, tu as, il a, elle a, nous avons, vous avez, ils ont, elles ont.
Très bien. Okay, so if we take the verb avoir, what do we add to that to form the perfect tense?
We add the past participle.
Exactly. Now, we've already learned how to form the past participle of an ER, an IR, and an RE verb. Anna, what do you do to an ER verb to form the past participle?
You chop off the ER at the end of the verb and add E acute.
Exactly. So if you had, for example, the verb parler, what would the past participle be?
Parler.
Exactly. It sounds the same as the infinitive parler, but it's spelled E acute at the end. So to say I have spoken, you would say
J'ai parlé.
J'ai parlé. Okay, let's take an RE verb. We'll take vendre, which means?
To sell.
Okay, so how do you form the past participle of an RE verb?
You take off the RE and add U.
Which gives you?
Vendu.
Vendu. Okay, remember the U at the end will sound U.
U.
Vendu.
Vendu.
Okay, so I have sold.
J'ai vendu.
J'ai vendu. Okay, now finally, an IR verb. How do you form the past participle of an IR verb? Let's take finir, for example.
All right, you chop off the IR and then add I again.
Exactly. It always sounds a little funny to chop off an IR, then add an I, but nonetheless, that's the best way to work it in your head. So you would get I have finished.
J'ai fini.
Très bien. Okay, today we're going to look at some verbs which are irregular in the perfect tense. That means they've got irregular past participles. When we were looking at present tense verbs, we learned that some verbs have irregular forms. They don't follow the same patterns as the verbs, the ER, RE, and IR regular verbs that we've learned. So with irregular verbs, they can be irregular in different tenses. Indeed, sometimes a verb can be regular in one tense, but irregular in another tense. That's not meant to complicate things, but just be aware of that. Perhaps one of the most common verbs is to do, which is faire.
Faire.
Now, as with many languages, it often happens that it's the most common verbs which are irregular. Think back to when we were looking at être, avoir, faire, and so on in the present tense. Now, in the perfect tense, for the past participle of these verbs, we just have to learn. It doesn't really follow a pattern. So the past participle of faire is fait.
Fait.
That's spelled F-A-I-T.
Fait.
So to say I have done, you would say j'ai fait.
J'ai fait.
Now, I think at some point we've covered the word les devoirs. Anna, do you know what les devoirs means?
Yes, it means homework.
Okay, so my homework would be mes devoirs.
Mes devoirs.
How would you say then, I have done my homework?
Okay, j'ai fait mes devoirs.
J'ai fait mes devoirs.
J'ai fait mes devoirs.
Très bien. Okay, so fait comes from faire, to do or to make. J'ai fait.
J'ai fait.
Now, faire is one of 12 common verbs which have an irregular past participle that we're going to be looking at in this lesson. So, faire gives you?
Fait.
Let's look at another common verb, something that we've come across many times. That's comprendre.
Comprendre.
Now, comprendre means?
To understand.
So, for example, you can say, I understand. Je comprends.
Je comprends.
That's something that we've done before. So, comprendre, however, in the perfect tense, has an irregular past participle. And that irregular past participle is compris.
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 Now, compris is spelled C-O-M-P-R-I-S. Okay? So, Anna, how would you say I have understood?
J'ai compris.
Exactly. Now, it's interesting because understand in English has an irregular past participle, understood. We don't, for example, say, I have understanded. That sounds a little strange. So in French, it works the same way. Je comprends, I understand. J'ai compris, I have understood. J'ai compris.
J'ai compris.
Now, again, relating to our English versions, understand and understood could be said to be linked to the verb stand and stood. Okay, so stand on its own, this means something completely different from understand. And just the same way, comprendre in French is linked to prendre. Now, can you remember what prendre means?
And prendre means to take.
To take. So any guesses as to what I have taken would be using the irregular past participle of the verb prendre?
All right, I think it would be j'ai pris.
J'ai pris. J'ai pris.
J'ai pris.
Okay, it's quite tricky to say pris.
Pris.
Okay, so j'ai pris.
J'ai pris.
J'ai pris le train.
J'ai pris le train.
Okay, and j'ai compris.
J'ai compris.
I have understood. Okay, let's look at another example of a verb which has an irregular past participle. And we're going to stick with something that almost rhymes here. We're going to look at mettre. Mettre means?
To put.
That's right, mettre, to put. And mettre, the past participle of mettre, is mis.
Mis.
And that's spelled M-I-S. Mis.
Mis.
Okay, and of course the S is silent. I have put.
J'ai mis.
You have put.
Tu as mis.
He has put.
Il a mis.
She has put.
Elle a mis.
Exactly. I think you're getting this it's quite straightforward. Okay, so mettre gives you mis. Comprendre gives you?
Compris.
Prendre gives you?
Pris.
And faire gives you?
Fait.
Fait, okay? Right, so we've got comprendre, prendre, mettre. Let's stick with another one that's similar in a sense. We'll go to écrire. Écrire means?
To write.
Okay, so if you say, I have written, then you would say, j'ai écrit.
J'ai écrit.
So, j'ai écrit, I have written. Now, écrit, this time, is spelled E-acute, C-R-I-T. Doesn't finish in an S this time, but a T. J'ai écrit.
J'ai écrit.
And another verb which forms its past participle in a very similar way is dire.
Dire.
And dire means?
To say.
To say, or to tell in some cases as well. So, can you guess what I have said would be?
J'ai dit.
Dit, exactly. It rhymes in a sense with écrit and also spelt the same way. D-I-T. J'ai dit.
J'ai dit.
Okay, we're going to run through the ones we've done so far. I'll say the infinitive, then we'll give all our listeners a chance to say the past participle, and then Anna, you can say the past participle, and our listeners can check if they've got it right. Okay, so let's go with faire. Anna?
Fait.
Comprendre. Anna?
Compris.
Prendre.
Pris.
Dire.
Dit.
Mettre.
Mis.
Écrire.
Écrit.
Très bien. Okay, with the exception of faire, all these verbs that we've been looking at have got some kind of I sound in them. Compris, pris, dit, écrit. Now, sometimes it ends in an S, sometimes it ends in a T, and you know that irregular verbs end in an I. J'ai fini, and j'ai obéi, and verbs like that. Now, there are verbs which end in U in the past participle, and these would tend to have an infinitive which ends in
R-E.
Yeah. So, for example, vendre becomes vendu. Now, just the same way, some of the verbs which have irregular past participles have got a kind of U theme going on. One of these is boire.
Boire.
Now, can you remember what boire means, Anna?
It means to drink.
Yeah, so I have drunk would be j'ai bu.
J'ai bu.
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 That's it, yeah. Bu.
Bu.
Now, obviously, the past participle bu is a bit of a rebel almost because it's gone quite a distance from boire to bu. And this is similar with some other verbs which have an past participle, an irregular past participle ending in U. Let's take, for example, the verb pouvoir.
Pouvoir.
What does that mean, Anna?
It means to be able to.
Yeah. So, can you remember how you would say, literally, am I able to buy some eggs?
Est-ce que je peux acheter des œufs?
Est-ce que je peux acheter des œufs? Très bien. So, je peux is the present tense of pouvoir. Now, in the perfect tense, the past participle of pouvoir is pu.
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 So, j'ai pu means I have been able to.
J'ai pu.
And in some situations, just as we can translate je peux as I can, j'ai pu could, in certain situations, be translated as I could. Okay?
All right.
J'ai pu lire le livre. I have been able to read the book, or I could read the book in certain situations. So, j'ai pu.
J'ai pu.
Now, this is one where you've really got to watch your pronunciation because j'ai pu and je pu mean two completely different things. J'ai pu, I have been able to. Je pu, I stink. Okay, from a different verb, puer, meaning to smell. Okay, so j'ai pu.
J'ai pu.
Okay, another verb which has a you theme would be savoir.
Savoir.
And can you remember what savoir means?
And savoir means to know.
Exactly. So, to know, and it's knowing a fact. I have known. J'ai su.
J'ai su.
J'ai su.
J'ai su.
And sticking with the U theme, let's take the verb lire.
Lire.
What does lire mean?
Lire means to read.
Yeah. So, I have read. J'ai lu.
J'ai lu.
Okay. I'm going to do one final verb in the U group, and that is the verb vivre.
Vivre.
Vivre means
To live.
to live. And when you put it into the perfect tense, the past participle is a bit of a strange one. Vécu.
Vécu.
So I have lived. J'ai vécu.
J'ai vécu.
Okay, I'm going to test you on these U ones. Okay, first of all, we had boire. Anna?
Bu.
Yep, that's the one that French ghosts say lots. Bu. Okay? They must drink a lot. I don't know. Anyway, so boire is bu. What about pouvoir?
Pu.
What about savoir?
Su.
And lire?
Lu.
And finally, vivre.
Not vu, but vécu.
Not vu, but vécu. But that reminds me about another very common French verb, which is voir. And I can't quite believe I forgot that one, but voir, meaning to see, has the past participle vu.
Vu.
So j'ai vu means I have seen,
J'ai vu.
and j'ai vécu means I have lived.
J'ai vécu.
So we've had bu, pu, su, lu, vu, and vécu.
I'm not even going to try and repeat all of those.
Oh, okay. You can take one at a time after me. Bu,
Bu.
su,
Su.
pu,
Pu.
lu,
Lu.
vu,
Vu.
vécu.
Vécu.
I think that's them all. Okay. Right. One final verb that I want to cover before we finish this lesson, and that is être.
Être.
Now, what does être mean?
To be.
To be. Now, you need to be able to say, I have been. So the past participle of être is été.
Été.
J'ai été.
J'ai été.
I have been. How do you say they have been?
Ils ont été.
Ils ont été. That's it. Okay, in this lesson then, we've covered 12 different past participles which are irregular. And before we finish the lesson, I'm going to test you on using these past participles with different persons. So, for example, just like we did there, ils ont été, they have been. I'm going to give you the English, and I'd like you to translate it into French. These are not going to be long sentences. There are going to be longer sentences in this week's bonus episode. But this is just a straightforward, I have been, you have understood, and so on. So, number 1. She has been. Anna.
Elle a été.
Elle a été. Okay. Number 2. We have understood.
Nous avons compris.
Nous avons compris. Number 3. They have drunk.
Ils ont bu.
Number 4. You, using the tu form, you have done.
Tu as fait.
Très bien. Number 5. You, this time the plural form, you have said.
Vous avez dit.
Excellent. And this one would be, this is number 6, yeah?
I think so. Yeah, number 6.
Okay, number 6 then. They have written. And make it female.
Elles ont écrit.
Elles ont écrit. Number 7. I have put.
J'ai mis.
Number 8. You, and using the polite singular form, you have taken.
Vous avez pris.
Très bien. Numéro 9. He has read.
Il a lu.
Il a lu. Très bien. Numéro 10, je pense. Numéro 10. We have lived.
Nous avons vécu.
OK. Numéro 11. I have seen.
J'ai vu.
J'ai vu. Numéro 12. You have known, using the tu form.
Tu as su.
Tu as su. Okay. Now, I think we've actually done another verb because we seem to have done 13. I said there were 12 today, but let's do 13, and that would be she has been able.
Elle a pu.
Okay, now I don't think we can finish an exercise or finish a lesson just having done 13 verbs. Let's throw in another one. We'll stick to the U group and we will add the verb devoir. Now, we know what les devoirs are. That's the homework.
Okay.
But homework is something that you have to do, so devoir means...
To have to.
Yeah, so devoir in the perfect tense becomes j'ai dû.
J'ai dû.
Now, that du has a circumflex on the U, okay? J'ai dû.
J'ai dû.
So, number 14 in our exercise, can you translate we have had to?
Nous avons dû.
And how would you spell dû?
D-U with a circumflex.
Très bien. And that's where we're going to leave it today for this edition of Coffee Break French. Thanks for joining us, and we hope it's been useful. You can join the Coffee Break French community on Facebook at facebook.com/coffeebreakfrench, and we're at Learn French on Twitter. Merci beaucoup et à bientôt. This is a production of the Radiolingua Network. Find out more at radiolingua.com.